Thanks, camera woman.
Yep.
Hey everyone, it's Saturday evening, and it's been a fun last few days. As most of you probably know, Hayden and Ian made their appearance on Thursday afternoon around 2:36 or so. Actually, they both came out within a minute of each other, so officially their time of birth is both 2:36 for the two of them. Hayden weighed 4 pounds 14 ounces. Ian weighed 4 pounds 11 ounces. Hayden was 18.25 inches. Ian was 18 inches. So decent size. We were excited to have them there. Right away they noticed that both of them were having a little bit of trouble breathing. Kind of the transition from the womb to the real world, I guess, was a little bit of a shock for them, and they weren't quite ready for that. Their lungs weren't completely developed. So almost immediately they took them into observation in the nursery, and so we spent most of the evening away from them, just Laurie, of course, not having any contact with them other than the photos that people were taking and showing her, and then I was able to see them, I guess, through the window of the nursery. Later that evening they decided that things had gotten a little bit worse for Hayden, and so they took him to the NICU so that he could be observed better, and he was in there for the rest of the evening at that point. And then actually about 10 or 11 o'clock that night they brought Ian to our room, and he was able to was basically released from the more specialized care and observation in the nursery, and he's been pretty much free since that point on Thursday evening to come and go into our room. We can go get him, we can bring him back, he can see people have come and held him and so forth. So he's doing really well, remarkably well, eating, pooping, burping, farting, all the good stuff that a good growing boy should do. Hayden is still struggling. He's actually still in the NICU. He's basically the fluid, the amniotic fluid that's in his lungs in the womb was still in his lungs when he was born through the C-section. So he was having a hard time working that out, and was basically either grunting to try to get a good breath or was breathing a lot faster than should be. So his respiratory rate was pretty high. So they watched him most of yesterday. At one point they had him on oxygen, they took him off, they put him back on, kind of back and forth. We weren't real clear on what was going on. Last night we actually spent probably about two and a half hours in the NICU with him, which was really nice, but was very hard, at least for me, and I know it was hard for Laurie as well. But it's really hard to see your boy hooked up to machines and having trouble breathing, and kind of the deep breaths that he was taking, and so it was pretty hard. This morning we got word that overnight they had to add more oxygen, put him on more oxygen, and bump that up. So what they decided to do was take an x-ray and to do a blood gas. They took the x-ray and saw, and I'm going to have to refer to Laurie again because I'm blanking on the name.
Pneumothorax.
Pneumothorax is what they found on both sides of his lungs, on his left side and his right side. And what that is essentially the little air pockets of the lungs actually burst, and so some of the air that he was trying to get into his system was actually leaking into his chest. So what they did was they, on one side, I believe his left side, they stuck a small needle in and released that air, and they took another x-ray almost immediately after that and realized that did a huge, that helped a lot with that situation on that side. But the right side, there was still the air, but they didn't want, it wasn't enough, I guess, to poke him and to release the air that way. So they basically put him on 100% oxygen, kind of put him on a nice little dome. He looks like a little space astronaut with this plastic dome over his head to give him better oxygen. And they're just kind of waiting for that to work itself out. And hopefully the oxygen will help that kind of flush out the air, help repair his lungs, and help him mature more quickly. They did do another x-ray this evening about 5 o'clock tonight, and they said that things were looking better. They weren't where they need to be, but they are looking better. So we were worried about having to put a chest tube in to release some of the air on his right side, but they said we're just going to keep the same plan as of now overnight, and we'll probably do another X-ray in the morning to see how he's doing. But so that's kind of where we're at. Otherwise, Hayden is doing excellent, other than his respiratory issues. He's taking food fine. They said that he's digesting the food fine. That he is doing a feeding tube as of this point until he gets his respiratory system kind of under control. But he is taking the food fine. He's sleeping fine for the most part. And once he gets his respiratory issues under control, hopefully he'll be able to come home. We don't have at all a timeline of when that may be, so we're guessing that he will probably be here a few more days beyond what we're here, but hopefully it won't be too long and he'll be able to come home and join his brother Ian and the rest of the family pretty soon. So that's it, Saturday night here at Baylor, and thanks for all your prayers, thoughts, and concerns, and all the messages, email, Facebook, and so forth. We really do appreciate it, and maybe by the end of next week or a couple weeks down the road we'll be able to catch up and read all those. So thanks, and take care.